Hello, we're at CES. We're in the suite of Accedo, who is here to discuss with potential customers and existing customers all kinds of new things that have emerged with the changes in the marketplace and the needs for more sophisticated ways of delivering multi-screen video services in conjunction with a merger with the company Digiflare. And we have with us for Accedo, Perry Weinstein, who is Global Vice President for Business Development, and we have Michael Chan, who is heading up delivery for North America. And Michael, you come from Digiflare,
Yes.
and this merger just happened in November or something?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very recent. Let's begin by talking a little bit about what you see, Perry, as the changes in the marketplace that are prompting you to make new offerings. And if you can, just give us a synopsis of what your offerings look like now.
Right. Well, it made a lot of sense for our companies to come together. Very complementary solution sets to address a whole bunch of different strategies that we see out in the marketplace. So we see less of an appetite for custom development for Tier 2, Tier 3, and even in the Tier 1 segment, and more of a desire to have turnkey solutions.
So your background has been with custom development,
For the most part, yes.
creating apps that support the UIs and the ingestions and basically the content management for a multi-screen service.
We see ourselves as much more than just app development. We see ourselves more as a front-end systems integrator. There's a whole bunch of different third-party technologies that are required to deliver an end-to-end OTT solution. We focus on the front-end consumer-facing experience. We'll tie into back-end CMS and other third parties to deliver a user experience that the customers enjoy.
Now, in that history, since you've been offering this, and you're one of the pioneers in this area, obviously, you've built quite a clientele globally. You have everybody from big content providers like HBO and Fox to and CNN to certain traditional network service providers, both telcos and cable. So that's the past. What are you looking at now, and what has brought Digiflare into the picture?
Well, to close the loop on the initial reason, we're complementary in our solution set. We see less of a desire for custom development. We have a turnkey solution called OTT Flow, which is end-to-end. It's a partnership with Brightcove. It's a OTT in a box. It's prescriptive. A lot of customers, they'll have existing back-end infrastructure, and Vidya, the Digiflare solution, turnkey solution, adapts to existing technical infrastructure, and that's more in line with what Tier 2, Tier 1 are interested in. So by coming together, our solutions are very complementary and are able to address the entire market with turnkey solutions, in addition to the bespoke developments that we do.
That's right.
Yeah.
So what other key components of the products that are involved here? You mentioned OTT Flow.
Mm-hmm. Our approach to app delivery is to provide as much flexibility as possible. So even our turnkey solutions are built on top of a cloud-based dashboard we call AppGrid. And it provides dynamic user experience. So turnkey solutions implies that perhaps it's template, I'm stuck with a certain look, feel, user experience. In our case, we approach it very different. We decouple the user experience from the app, which allows the user to dynamically modify the user experience based on a bunch of different variables. It could be market segment based, it could be device based, it could be just about anything. So data-driven user experience. So even if we're providing a turnkey solution, the foundation is our cloud-based delivery approach, which provides the dynamic capabilities that our customers actually need.
So you mentioned the OTT Flow as a turnkey solution, and that's applicable for not just the Tier 3 market or the Tier 2, it's also Tier 1 under evolving circumstances. Michael, why don't you talk to me a little bit about just what is happening in North America that opens up an opportunity for a turnkey solution where people have already been doing some multi-screen services within their own service territories.
Our customers when they come to us, they're seeing that there's still a need for custom bespoke applications. But when we have the conversation, we're also seeing that they want a turnkey solution to continue to address their ever-evolving market. And the users now actually have an appetite for different type of user experiences. And the users are now more segmented in a way where we're seeing that there are existing digital consumers, and then there are new digital viewers that are also wanting to experience TV in a more traditional way. So we're seeing that as the customers come to us, they want to be able to test the market and produce minimal viable products that they can adapt to the marketplace, see if it's successful, and then be able to continue to change the experience based on events, based on key and data that they're seeing by the behaviors that are being consumed in the back end. So when they look at the analytics, they want to be able to respond to the analytics and then create a custom user experience for those types of people as well.
So all of this is happening in the cloud, and all of this is happening with the ability to be very flexible in the iterations on a geographic basis or demographic basis. Is that what I'm hearing here?
Yes,
That's right.
that's right.
As this new environment emerges, we're also seeing new requirements come with it. We have the need for data collection around support for advertising. We have the need for data collection for support for discovery and discovery across ever more content. And of course, we're seeing the introduction of a whole new generation of television format, UHD, HDR, as part of this paradigm. Are we hearing from you that an app environment developed by you is going to be able to support these ongoing needs and basically continue to accommodate these things? And how can you do that? Are you involved with third parties in making that all happen?
Sure. I mean, I think you hit it on the head. It's a very fast evolving industry that we're in. And so there's two components really. I think from a business owner perspective, it's best practice to be able to launch, get market feedback, measure, and then adapt and iterate your solution, because the consumer behavior is ever evolving, as Michael alluded to. So we provide that flexibility and capability, and then you have technology, and that's ever evolving as well. Our turnkey solution is built on the idea that we can plug and play different types of technologies relatively easily. And so we definitely have that mindset when architecting and launching a service.
What do you see as, let's talk about the global perspective now. What do you see as your key opportunities? Are you seeing a real need in the tier one markets for what you're offering, to where it's not just about the traditional custom service that you offered, or is it more about moving into the tier 2, tier 3 levels?
I think it's a combination. As we work with customers, they still want to continue to service their existing base, but now we're seeing that in a global perspective, they do want to be able to move globally and provide that brand recognition, not just in their local markets, but in new markets where they want to be able to capture a larger audience that they may not traditionally have had, and their content has been viewed as something that customers or viewers want to see, and now they're able to respond to it with something like OTT, right? They're able to take that perhaps across the Atlantic and now push that content through a new technology model, and that hasn't been traditionally available before, but now it has been. And so we're seeing a lot more of that, where it's not just focused locally, they want to start to focus globally what they can achieve. When you say tier 2, tier 3, I think they still want to be perceived as a tier 1 player, but entering into a new market, obviously they need to reposition themselves, and so they may rebrand as, or might come into a new market as a smaller brand, and that's where they're able to then produce minimal viable products through smaller product launches that might be able to be facilitated through our turnkey solutions.
Now this gets into some pretty complex issues as far as the iterations that are required for any given move beyond your traditional service territory with respect to whether you have the rights to offer, whether those rights bring new requirements, the whole question of what kinds of bundles a different territory might require for the interesting people. You mentioned having this be a service that fits the market needs and the interests of those users. How do you support all of that?
So I mean, when you elaborate on all the complexities, it brings to mind the real value that we're bringing to market. We've launched hundreds of services, over 500 actually, with our collective companies now becoming one, and we've seen just about everything. And we feel that the real value that we bring is on either side of develop and deploy. So we're much more than developing the app, but on the front end you have to plan, and the devil's in the details. Pitfalls in the planning. You got to do that properly. There's a lot of things to take into consideration, and different types of companies have different requirements. You mentioned the complexity of content and territorial rights and all that. We have a solution to address that specific challenge. Designing, making sure that you're planning and designing for all the different platforms. There's a lot of complexity in that too. You don't want to just design for the lowest common denominator, right? So, and then once you deliver, you have to measure and monitor and optimize and account for the variables in business models which are ever evolving. So to take your specific example, if there's a territorial rights issue, we can then adapt to that by geofencing and simply deliver a different type of content based on the territory that the customer is pinging the user experience from.
One of the things too that you mentioned here is the ability to give the service provider or the content owner, whoever's using your platform, an opportunity to distinguish their brands and make the user aware that this is something that they can't get somewhere else. What are some of the things that you're bringing into play to support that? How, because the market's awash now with all these options, how does somebody get out there and really make the user aware that, hey, we've got it different? It may be whatever the programming lineup might be the same as you can get from multiple others, but there's something special here.
Yeah, I think the way that they're able to adapt the UI and the UX dynamically,
Yep.
and I guess in a quick time to respond to what the market is asking for, really allows them to distinguish their brand. And it's a long planning cycle. I think when we start application development, when we start in the beginning to when we finally deliver, that cycle is not months traditionally. When they start to build their brand and they plan with us, that used to be measured in months. But now with our products, we can measure that in weeks. And to be able to adapt to that dynamically and respond to the market in a matter of weeks as opposed to months allows them to be perceived as game changers in the market. And what I mean by that is, if they have a sporting event and they're able to tailor the experience of their application to a sporting event, or if they have a live event that's coming up, say CES, and they're able to adapt the service and the application and the look and feel towards certain events, that allows them to actually create a brand identity that traditionally hasn't been very easy to do and has been very costly to do.
And just to build on that, there's a lot of services out there that can't differentiate themselves on just the content alone. And we feel very strongly that the next frontier within OTT is helping our customers and their brands differentiate through user experience. And that's why we're so focused. We have a lot of R&D investment and effort in that area. Because I feel that aside from content, if content isn't available as a differentiator, then it's going to have to be user experience. And in doing so, you can really reposition and bring up the value of the brand.
What are some of the user experiences you're talking about? For example, discovery. Some people have a very closed environment that they operate in. The user experience has navigation tied strictly to that environment. Others are cutting deals to where they have some degree of outside participation. But then there are some, I think, that just want to be able to open up that discovery capability. How do you adjust to those needs?
Well, there's content, right? So there's discovery and those types of things, and bubbling up the right content at the right time. That's one form of user experience, right? Which is content based, but also navigation and environment and time of day. I mean, I might have a different behavior or based on my consumption type, or a different interest in content based on time of day. So, for example, we segment the market in two areas: digital natives and digital newcomers, and they both have very different ways of navigating user interfaces. The digital natives have more of an appetite for options, whereas digital newcomers like it fairly simple. And so there's no reason why our customers shouldn't be able to provide different user experiences based on consumption behavior, and use that as sort of a clue to who might be in front of the screen at that time, and bubble up different user experiences based on the consumer.
Well, this is pretty exciting stuff as far as moving into this new environment and giving providers the flexibility to break out of the old molds of doing things. Because here in North America, we see those that have been territorial bound and have benefited from that in terms of mutual support and non-competition. They're up against national providers who are moving into mobile 5G and now threaten those territorially based providers to where they have to get out there and make their brands available on the same scale, which inevitably breaks down the old protections against inter-industry competition. But at the same time, those kinds of requirements are really daunting from the standpoint of what we talked about, the rights and the navigational aspects and the uniqueness of everybody's needs. It sounds to me like you've got those bases covered. And it's got to be good news for an industry that's looking for solutions they don't have to build themselves.
That's right.
Well, thank you very much, Perry.
Thank you,
Michael.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time.
Likewise.